Hello everyone, Agent X007 here, and in this video I will show you or present to you the cards that I will be testing in my next video. So this is 6600 GT from MSI. It's passively cooled and it has 256 megabytes of memory, so twice the amount a standard 6600 GT has. No external power because PCIe is capable of powering this card. Now it has Vivo or video in, video out on the I/O, DVI and VGA. Now I also want to show you guys how much it weighs, because this is quite a hefty boy. 630 grams. I will change to pounds. There we go. It's basically quite heavy, as any passively cooled card should be. This is the first one. It has 500 megahertz on the memory and on the GPU core as well, and gigahertz effective, so 500 real clock. Parameters are on the right in the GPU Z. Next card is also from 6000 series, but this time it's a Quadro. It's a Quadro FX 3400. It's not exactly heavy, as you can see. It's fully aluminum, and in this case this one is based on NV40 chip. It has 6800 GT PCB as well. 3 phases for the GPU and 1 phase for the memory. The last phase is not here because the PCIe slot is capable of providing that, but 6-pin is also required. Now this card is SLI compatible. On the I/O we have 2 DVIs, both analog and digital version, so DVI-I, and this is a 3-pin DIN connector for stereoscopic glasses that are available for Quadro cards. This is the back. It's a POV version, so it's basically NVIDIA made, and just stick a sticker there and you have a card. Exact settings are right here. Now this is 421 megahertz because I overclocked it, and 1 gigahertz on the memory, 256 megabyte GDDR3. So for anyone that doesn't know what the other cards in the series are, this is basically a 6800 GS equivalent. Okay, let's go to the next card. This is a 6800 GT. As you can see, it's a similar looking card to the Quadro that was just before. Again, 3 phases for the GPU and 1 phase for the VRAM. This card, however, is a bit different from the stock version that NVIDIA sells, because this is firstly ASUS made, and the cooler itself is a bit different because this one lights up blue when it's powered on. So that's quite nice. Here's the back. Here's exact model number. Really pretty card, especially when it's powered on. SLI capable, and this one has S-Video and dual DVIs. Now you can maybe you can SLI this one with the Quadro equivalent, so I think it's FX 4400, but that would probably need the BIOS, the VBIOS, to be replaced. Now let's weigh this card, because this is pretty hefty in my hands. Okay, so 400. That's 8.88 pounds. Nice. 256 meg. Exact settings used are here in GPU-Z, and this card was overclocked to 6800 Ultra, so 400 megahertz on the GPU and 1100 megahertz on the memory. Next up, we had 6000 series. This is 7000. This is 7300 GT from Palette. It's 256 megabyte version and GDDR3. It's unusual because they don't clock as high as this one, because this one uses GDDR3 memory with 1.4 nanosecond latency. I don't know if my card, it's barely readable. Well, you will know in GPU-Z what settings I used. Oh, also video in, video out, VGA and DVI. And let's weight this one as well. So 240 grams. Okay, no 6-pin on this one because it's not needed. Okay, again, clock's right there, and parameters. Next card, 7600 GT from Galaxy, or as they are now known as Galax. This one uses Zalman cooler, stock one, because this is a special Zalman version. It also has nice heatsinks on the memory. Now this card is quite great in overclocking because this one uses 1.2 nanosecond memory and it has 256 megabytes of it, so pretty great. I/O is the same as the previous one, so Vivo and dual DVIs, and it's quite light because this is fully aluminum cooler. 270 grams. Okay. 600 megahertz on the memory, on the GPU core, and 1400 megahertz on the memory effective. Okay, on to the next one. Next card, 7900 GT from POV. This one is a replacement because I wanted to use a 7800 GTX. However, my card did not want it to clock as high as I wanted it to. This one uses 1.4 nanosecond memory, so it can do what I wanted it to. It's overclocked to 500 megahertz on the core and 1400 megahertz on the memory. Pretty basic stuff. This is NVIDIA reference design basically. Again, dual DVIs with Vivo. This one uses copper cooler, which is pretty nice. This was quite high on the 7000 series. Now, if you want 512 version of this, because this is 256 meg, you need 7950 GT, or you need to get 7950 GT. Of course, it's SLI compatible. It's not that heavy, and because it's single slot, you can SLI them quite easily. But like I said, 7950 GT is better for SLI because of the bigger memory on it. Again, here are the clocks, 500, 1400. Next card, And the next card is a bit special because this is the fastest 7000 series card from NVIDIA. A bit dusty, but it works. 7900 GTX from Asus. It should have decals for the King Kong game, but I don't like them, so I pulled them out. Now, this card is underclocked because this one uses 650 MHz stock, and I wanted 600, so it was underclocked to 600 on the GPU, sorry. And 1400 on the memory. Oh. Let's weigh this thing. $620 grams. Quite heavy, but this is dual cooler after all. Here's the I/O, Vivo, and dual DVIs, standard for NVIDIA at the time. Parameters on the right. Okay, let's go to the next one. Now, this card may not look like much, but it is quite capable. This is a 9500 GT from Asus. It's a 512 megabyte version with GDDR3 memory or DDR3. And it's clocked at 600 megahertz on the core with 1500 megahertz on the shaders and 1800 megahertz effective on memory. It doesn't need PCIe 6-pin, so that's nice. And in this case, we get finally a HDMI. So that's nice. HDMI port, VGA with DVI, and it weighs not much, standard quarter kilogram. It's of course DirectX 10 capable, and if you don't know older graphics cards, this one is similar to 8600 GTS, but it isn't clocked as high. However, this one does have updates to the die that 8800 GT provided, because this is 65 nanometer card. So better overclocks and lower power consumption. Okay, now I should also add 512 version of 9500 is usually DDR2, so keep that in mind because this is DDR3 version, quite fast. On to the next one. Oh, this is the card that nobody ever wants to use. This is GT210, 1 GB version, 64-bit memory bus. It's slow. I can tell you that right now. And it's basically a half of the 9500 GT that I showed you guys earlier. But this one supports DirectX 10.1, but that will not help it, believe me. This is Windows XP that we are testing in. This is quite hefty heatsink on it, which is good. 230. It's a GT. It's here just to show you guys what this card is capable of in Windows XP, and I want to compare that to other less powerful cards that I presented earlier, and I will present next, of course. So on to the next one. And the next one isn't exactly much better, because this is a GT 520 1GB DDR3. It's a F.E.A.R, so this card supports DirectX 11. It has 48 shaders, and I made it a bit faster because it does need it. 810 megahertz on the core and 1620 on the shader. Of course, parameters are right here. Let's go to the next card. Oh, I should also show the I/O. So we have HDMI, DVI, and VGA, because this is HTPC card basically. Okay, we are through the NVIDIA stuff. Now we go to ATI. So 1300, X1300, the most basic of the basics for the DirectX 9C shader model 3.0. This card is well, not fastest, and it will not be the fastest one on the lineup, I can assure you of that. It has 500 megahertz on the memory, the core, sorry, and 600 megahertz on the memory, my bad. DDR2, and it's 256 megabyte. If you are wondering how heavy it is not heavy. Oh, sorry. 176 grams. That's not a lot. And parameters are on the right side. Another card in the lineup. This one is X1800 GTO. This is a cut down version of the fastest X1800 card from ATI. 256 megabytes, GDDR3. It's clocked at 500 megahertz on the GPU and 1 gigahertz effective on the memory. Of course, it does need a 6-pin to work. Now it weighs 500 grams, and if you are interested, here's the pound. Now this card is it came pretty dusty, so if you own this card, I highly recommend unscrewing all of those screws. I don't remember if there is one underneath, but I don't think so. And clean the heatsink underneath. Parameters in the GPU-Z. Oh, by the way, this is 12 pixel pipe card with 12 pixel shader units, because the GPU-Z is showing 16, however it's wrong, it's 12. So keep that in mind. Since I already mentioned it, here's a X1800 XT with a bit damaged decal, but what can I do? Those are quite old now. This is 512 megabytes. It has GDDR3 memory, of course. There we go. And you get dual DVI and Vivo on it. Of course, it also needs the 6-pin to work. This is quite heavy card, 680, 1.5 pounds. And again, this one should be correct on GPU-Z. Okay, next one. This is X1650 Pro from F.E.A.R, as you can see on the decal. 256 megabytes, GDDR3. It's pretty basic card. It has a lot of pixel shaders, which is very important on some games, as you will be able to see when I test all of them. So not exactly heavy. Oh, come on. There we go. Pretty nice card. Okay, this is quite special card because this one isn't as common as the previous ones. This one is X1650 XT, 256 meg GDDR3. Same I/O as the previous one, so nothing new there. However, this one supports Crossfire, as you can see. It uses the same chip as 1950 Pro, and because of this, it's quite fast. It's a lot faster than 1650 Pro, sorry. And you will be able to see it in action in the next video. But for now, how much it weighs? It's quite heavy because this is full copper heatsink. No PCIe required because this is cut down version. Again, parameters that I used are in the GPU-Z window. Next card. This one is a bit different because this one is apparently a 1950 GT, X1950 GT from Palette. However, the VBIOS on this is from X1950 Pro. So we have a Pro inside a GT, basically. So the clocks and the VRAM and everything is the same as X1950 Pro. But if you want to search for the card itself, where's the... Oops. For the model number, there we go. Or here, you will get a GT. Now this is stock clocked. I didn't change anything. 1400 on the memory and 580-ish on the core. Requires 6-pin, of course. DVI, Vivo, and VGA, and of course it's Crossfire compatible. Now you may think this is the X1800, but this is not. This is a X1900 XTX. It's 512 megabytes of memory, or it has 512 megs of memory. 6-pin, of course, is required. Here's the back. And the sticker itself. Now, here's the comparison for the PCB of X1900 XT and X1800, because XTX and XT use the same PCB, but the XTX is just clocked a bit higher. However, I underclocked it as well, just like I did with 17900 GTX. Now, as you can see, this card has less phases right here. This one is missing, and that's how you can tell that this one is an X1800 XT, and this one is X1900 XT or XTX. Again, exact parameters are in the GPU-Z. Like with NVIDIA, I also got myself few DirectX 10 cards for this lineup. So this one is HD 3650, 512 megabytes, GDDR3. 1.2 nanoseconds memory. This one is clocked at, I think, 1600 megahertz. I don't remember now. Where parameters are on in the GPU-Z window in the minute. How much it weighs? It's quite light. Well, this isn't exactly powerful card. Dual DVIs with Vivo. It's 512 megabytes, which is a bit unusual for GDDR3 version. However, there are out there if you want them. Of course, DDR2 will be a good bit slower than this, and of course it supports Crossfire. Parameters on the right side. And we are coming to a close, but not on this one. This one is HD 4550. It's a bit unusual card because this one is DDR3, 1 gigabyte. However, as you can see, it's through heatsink. Is reminiscent of Ampere graphics cards from NVIDIA that were released last year. However, this one is from, I believe, 2009 or 8. So quite a lot older. Now we have VGA on the I/O, HDMI and DVI, and the card weighs 256 grams. Nice. Of course, it doesn't require any additional power because this is low power card. However, it was extended with the heatsink. It can get a bit hot, but not too much. A bit of airflow and everything is fine. Okay, and to the last card, I think. Yep, this one is the last card. So whoever watched this far, congratulations, this is quite a long video. But go to the card now. This is a DirectX 11 card from ATI AMD Radeon HD6450, 1 gigabyte. There are OEM versions of this which are a lot smaller. Let me grab one. Like this one. However, I experienced a lot of issues, and I mean a lot of issues, with OEM cards in my retro platform that I'm using to test those cards. I cannot recommend this, sorry. If you have newer platform like LGA 1155 or Haswell Ryzen, maybe even AM3 Plus, it should work fine. However, on the older stuff, this one barely booted. I had 3 of those, and the first one was damaged. The second one did not boot at all on my platform, and the third one booted, but it needed a second card. So yeah, cannot recommend this. But back to my regular version. It's clocked at 625 megahertz, and it weighs 200 grams. Pretty nice. And pretty light as well. Yep. Parameters are in the GPU-Z. Okay, this was the last one. So now I'm going to test all of those. So wish me luck. And thank you for watching. See you in the next one.